Are we ready? Is Catherine ready? North Shore Unitarian Church is a community grounded in love, guided by reason, committed to spiritual growth, and striving for justice. My name is Gayle Fankhauser, and I use she, her pronouns, and it is good to be with you this morning. Our community strives to celebrate every person who comes to our sanctuary, whether you ran in here on little feet, or tuned in virtually, or walked in briskly, or ambled in, or rolled in, you are welcome here. Whatever your complexion or orientation, or gender expression, or political beliefs, you are welcome here. Unitarian Universalism is committed to the idea that every person has inherent worth and dignity, and we seek to share that vision with each other and with the world. In case it is helpful to you, please know that a loop hearing system is available. You're also invited to take notes of the announcements in your order of service and plan to join us for any community events that are of interest to you. To minimize disruptions, we ask that you set your electronic devices to worship mode. Navigating the ongoing realities of the coronavirus is a complicated matter. We strive to make our worship as welcoming as possible, including for people who are medically vulnerable. We ask that all people who attend services and activities wear a mask and be fully vaccinated, except when it is not medically possible. If you're joining us online, welcome. You can learn more about us by visiting nsuc.org and signing up for our newsletter. May our time together be a time of joy.
Good morning, and please join in our opening words. They are printed in your order of service as Gayle lights our chalice. This flame affirms the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Council of the Three Fires, comprised of the Ojibwe, Ottawa, and Potawatomi nations, as well as the Miami, Ho-Chunk, Menominee, Sauk, Fox, Kickapoo, and Illinois nations. We pay our respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging. We offer them our gratitude and respect, our repentance and hope in solidarity with them. Our first hymn is called Now Light is Less. It is number 54 in your hymnal. We will hum the first two verses.
From Barbara Hamilton Holloway. Let there be a quiet time among us. Spirit of life in us and around us, here is our chance, once again, to live as we wish the world would live. May we find within ourselves the courage to be who we are. May we know when it is time to listen and when it is time to speak. May we trust ourselves to be the ones to find the words that need to be said or to do what needs to be done. May we trust one another and know there are many ways to go through life. May we know that though we cannot change some of what life gives us, we can choose how we deal with what we are given. We are coming into our power, and together we can make possible justice and love. We are all connected. We depend on one another more than we know. We are one body. So be it. Blessed be. Amen.
The first reading comes from All That We Have Been, All That We Will Become by the Reverend Leslie Fales. All that we have been separately and all that we will become together is stretched out before us and behind us like stars scattered across a canvas of sky. We stand at the precipice, arms locked together like tandem skydivers working up the courage to jump. Tell me, friends, what have we got to lose? Our fear of failure? Our mistrust of our own talents? What have we got to lose? A poverty of the spirit? The lie that we are alone? What wonders await us in the space between the first leap and the moment our feet, our wheels, however we move our bodies across this precious earth, touch down softly on unknown soil? What have we got to lose that we can't replace with some previously unimaginable joy? Blessed are you, Spirit of Life, who has sustained us, enlivened us, and enabled us to reach this moment. Give us courage in our leaping and gratitude in our landing.
From Beginning Again by Reverend Mark Warren. Beginning again. It's a fact of life. Jobs change, marriages fail, stuff happens. We need to let something go and find a new direction. Where do we start? The Buddhist writer Pema Chodron remarks that fear often arises from a sense of poverty, a feeling that we are lacking something and we need to scramble somehow to find it and fill our gaping need. We can't relax with ourselves. Instead, we are preoccupied by this script that runs as if on a loop, repeating over and over, reciting our inadequacies. Wherever we go, it runs like elevator music, below the level of our consciousness, until every once in a while, something happens that seems to reinforce the script. Then, the music swells and we're reminded, there it is again, proof of our inadequacy. So where's the way out? We might think of the process of beginning as a discipline. Oddly enough, in this circumstance, beginning starts with a full stop. Like rebooting a balky hard drive, we need to disrupt the scripts and simply be present to ourselves, unrated, unevaluated, unjudged. Let the busy mind settle down, enter into a moment where we are not awaiting, not hoping, not longing, just welcoming, accepting. In that space, Pema Chodron says, in time we experience a pause, as if awakening from a dream. Here we find a moment of what the Buddhists called Maitri, a complete acceptance or unconditional friendship with ourselves as we are. It's not something new that suddenly arises. It's not a matter of fixing or improving some debility, making up for some lack, but a settled awareness of and appreciation for who we are. It is, in essence, accepting our inherent worthiness. Pema Chodron is careful to distinguish this from the phenomenon she calls self-cherishing. This is essentially the practice of seeking always to protect and comfort ourselves, seeking to assure that we are always happy and in no distress. To do this, though, we put up walls against potentially disturbing experience and become self-absorbed. It is, as the Buddhists say, the root of all suffering, and it is the center of our experience of failure. Failure, after all, is the experience of falling short of our expectation. And where does the expectation come from? Well, it is the dream of the ego. We cherish this image that we have constructed of ourselves. We persuade ourselves that it is us, oh, marvelous, wonderful us. We may even grow a feeling of entitlement. It is what we do, after all. We've put in the time, we've hit the marks. But no, sorry, not going to happen. We can rant, we can weep, we can withdraw, and still there it is. Evidence, in the end, not of our unworthiness, but of the unworthy expectations we have created of ourselves. And here the Buddhists offer an interesting perspective that takes some reflecting to sort through. They say that we need to just sit with ourselves, letting go of the scripts, the expectations, the assignments we give to ourselves. And with all of that cleared out, something appears. Something true, something good. And here's where the twist comes in. Pema Chodron argues that as soon as we begin to know ourselves, we begin to forget ourselves. We no longer need to be so self-involved. From that settled place, we not only fully appreciate ourselves, but we also appreciate others and the wider world.
A continuation of the reading. The story is told that early in his career, the writer E.B. White wrote a letter to his wife, Catherine Sargent Angell, saying that he felt like a failure and thought he ought to give up working at The New Yorker, where he was one of its treasured writers. Angell wrote back to say that whatever his misgivings, there was no denying that he was a writer and a good one. Quote, "For you to give up now would be like a violinist good enough to perform in one of the 4 or 5 leading orchestras in the world, giving up fiddling because he couldn't be Heifetz. It doesn't seem sensible for such a person to give up music, the thing he most loved in the world, because he couldn't be Heifetz." End of quote. It's a feeling that any of us knows. Given the chance, most of us wouldn't have any trouble naming 6 people who could perform whatever calling we may have better than we do. And none of that changes the truth that we live how we are called to be who we are. It is ironic that one of the ways we best assure our own suffering is to create extravagant and heroic visions of ourselves. The best, the richest, the smartest, the foxiest, the suavest, images we can only disappoint. Part of beginning again is correcting our vision, giving ourselves the space to see who we are, how the world is, the abundant reality we inhabit. I think of a poem, a picture of life as scattered images, snapshots of seemingly random moments that knit themselves into our experience. The world for each of us is described not by some overarching scheme, but by a collection of these moments. Getting covered in leaves, stroking the fur of a dog, a nighttime conversation with the light off, stumbling on a stone, following a spark on the wind with our eyes. They are our context. That doesn't give them any privileged meaning, but they do locate us. They are the place where we begin. And so perhaps life is less like the scroll of a heroic journey than a series of improv workshops.
The reading continues. Like working through an improv scene that gets convoluted and confused, we discover that we need to shift gears and find a different path. It may not be newspaper journalism after all. Perhaps it's a line of work that not only provides an outlet for writing, but also opens my heart. So yes, opportunities, happy accidents. We are offered many opportunities in our lives to begin again, to find our callings, to begin new relationships, to let go of unhelpful scripts. And we begin by making friends with ourselves, the jumble of experience, insight, and aptitude that we carry into the abundant reality of the world. In the end, it's enough. We're enough.
The third reading is from a piece called Becoming Ourselves by the Reverend Amanda Pape. When I was pregnant with my second child, one of the things I was most curious and anxious about was telling my first child the news of an expected sibling. She was 3 at the time, and I wasn't sure how much she would be able to grasp about the major change her life was about to undergo. I was ready to answer any question she might have honestly and age appropriately. I started off by being as literal as possible. "Guess what?" I said. "You're going to have a sibling. There's a baby growing in my tummy." That seemed like a good start, although I was ready to switch over to the anatomically correct uterus if needed. But my older child isn't a scientist, it turns out. She's a philosopher, so she asked the one question I wasn't prepared for. "Oh," she said, "who is it going to be?" "I don't know," I said. "We're going to have to wait and see." And isn't that always the way? We're still waiting to see who that second child is going to be, although she's been with us for 7 years now and is very much her own person. But she's also changing and growing, becoming someone new all the time, as her older sister is, and as I am, and as you are. Sometimes our beginnings are dramatic. We realize that the gender we thought we were, or others thought we were, isn't correct after all. Or we discover that the career we had planned or the marriage we had begun isn't really who we are, or is no longer right for who we have become. Sometimes, though, our becoming is gradual, a kind of unfolding and changing and shifting over time. Always, it is lifelong, which isn't to say we aren't already who we are that too. We are already ourselves the minute we are born and every minute thereafter. However long our lives end up being, even when they are cut short painfully, tragically, we are our full selves for every second, every month, every year of those lives. And we are also becoming ourselves, growing and stretching. In the growing time of my life, my soul experienced something like the growing pains I remembered in my legs as a child. I became a minister, a mother, a middle-aged person. It's usually been uncomfortable and almost always inconvenient. The old me seemed fine. The one I was just yesterday, why bother with all this shifting? And yet, when I come out the other side, I invariably think, ah, yes, this is me. This is the me I was supposed to become. This is who I am. Until next time, who is it going to be? Who are you going to be today and tomorrow? Who are we all becoming together?
The Unitarian Universalist flaming chalice has been a beacon of hope, of healing, and of compassionate service in a weary and hurting world. We are now keepers of its flame, and its light is fueled by each person's gifts of time, talent, energy, and financial commitment. Note that with our Share the Plate program, half of all non-pledged donations we receive will be donated to social or environmental justice causes. This month, your donations will go to the Ministerial Discretionary Fund. The Ministerial Discretionary Fund exists at the heart of our common ministry. It is used throughout the year to help members of our community, both here at NSUC and the larger community of which we are a part, find a way through difficult times. You can read about this worthy fund on the insert in your order of service and in the newsletter. Please note that you can give in two ways, either by putting money in the blue box by the sanctuary door as you leave, or by scanning the code on your order of service. If you're joining us online, I invite you to go to our website to donate. We will be turning off our live stream shortly, and we thank you for being with us. Let us now celebrate our community with gratitude and generosity.